The elephant in the room when the teaser for the new Tony and Ziva spinoff dropped, the internet exploded with excitement. We saw the action, the romance, and the return of our favorite duo. But amidst the hype, there is a massive, glaring legal question that nobody seems to be talking about. Is Ziva David actually a free woman? We tend to view Ziva through the lens of a hero. We see her as a victim of circumstance, a mother protecting her child, and a loyal partner. But the United States Department of Justice does not operate on feelings. It operates on statutes. And if we look at Ziva's file through the cold, hard lens of American law, the picture is terrifying. Technically, Ziva David is a walking felony. She is a former foreign intelligence operative with a double-digit body count, a history of going rogue, and a 5-year gap where she faked her own death to evade authorities. As Tony and Ziva run across Europe, the biggest threat might not be a terrorist organization. It might be an extradition order from the very country she used to serve. Today, we are putting Ziva David on trial. We are analyzing her legal status, the crimes she technically committed, and why her return to the land of the living might just put her in handcuffs. The Bodner precedent to understand the legal jeopardy Ziva is in, we have to rewind to season 10 and the death of Elon Bodner. This was the defining moment where Ziva crossed the line from federal agent to vigilante. Remember the panic at NCIS headquarters? Director Vance was dragged before the Inspector General. The Department of Defense was involved. Ziva killed Bodner in what was arguably self-defense, but the investigation leading up to it was entirely off the books and illegal. She stole files, she evaded federal surveillance, and she traveled internationally without authorization to hunt a man down. At the time, she resigned to protect Gibbs and the team, effectively running away from the consequences. That resignation wasn't a pardon. Those files didn't just disappear. In the eyes of the JAG Corps and the CIA, Ziva David is a loose cannon who faced zero consequences for a revenge killing. If she resurfaces in Europe causing explosions and car chases, some ambitious prosecutor in DC is going to pull the Bodner file and argue that she has been a fugitive from justice for over a decade. The crime of pseudocide, let's talk about the act of faking her death itself. In legal terms, this is known as pseudocide, and while faking your death isn't explicitly a crime in itself, the actions required to maintain the lie are absolutely federal felonies. To stay dead for 5 years, Ziva would have had to use false identities. That is identity theft and passport fraud. If she accessed any bank accounts or moved money around to survive, that is wire fraud and money laundering. If she crossed international borders, which we know she did to get to Paris, she committed immigration fraud multiple times. These aren't small slap-on-the-wrist offenses. These are crimes that carry 10 to 20 years in federal prison. Furthermore, by letting the U.S. government believe she was dead, she wasted millions of dollars in intelligence resources. The FBI and CIA do not take kindly to being played. When Ziva comes back to life officially, she isn't just walking into a family reunion. She is walking into a mountain of bureaucratic red tape and potential criminal charges for every single day she lied to the federal government. The Tony DiNozzo problem, aiding and abetting the legal nightmare, doesn't stop with Ziva. It extends directly to Anthony DiNozzo. Tony is an American citizen and a former federal agent. He knows the law better than anyone. By reuniting with Ziva and presumably helping her stay off the grid in Paris, Tony is crossing a very dangerous line. In the eyes of the law, he is now an accessory after the fact. If Ziva is considered a person of interest or a fugitive by any U.S. agency, perhaps for her dismantle of Sahar's network using illegal means, then Tony is aiding a fugitive. He is providing shelter, financial support, and tactical assistance to someone operating outside the law. This puts Tony's own freedom at risk. Imagine a scenario where the FBI turns up at his security firm in Paris. They wouldn't just be looking for Ziva, they would be looking to arrest Tony for conspiracy. This adds a layer of tension to their relationship that we haven't seen before. Tony isn't just risking his life for love, he is risking his citizenship and his clean record. He is effectively burning his bridge back to the United States every day he stays with her. The vigilante status in Europe, we also have to consider international law. In the original series, Ziva had the protection of the badge. First, she had the diplomatic immunity of Mossad and later, the federal authority of NCIS. If she shot someone, she had a mountain of paperwork to justify it. In the spin-off Tony and Ziva, she is neither. She is a civilian. If Ziva engages in a shootout in Budapest or a high-speed chase in Paris, she is technically a criminal. She has no arrest authority. She has no license to carry a concealed weapon in the European Union, which has incredibly strict gun laws. Every time she uses her skills to save the day, she is breaking the law of the country she is in. This creates a fascinating narrative problem. Tony and Ziva can't go to the police for help because the police would arrest them on sight. They are operating in a legal gray zone that is darker than anything Gibbs ever dealt with. They are closer to being outlaws than agents. This means if they get caught, there is no Director Vance on speed dial to bail them out. They are entirely on their own. The threat of the CIA and the burn notice, perhaps the most terrifying aspect of Ziva's legal status, is her relationship with the CIA. We know Ziva has a long, complicated history with the agency, largely through her father, Eli David, and handlers like Trent Court. The CIA keeps files on everyone, and they never forget a grudge. Ziva knows where the bodies are buried, literally and figuratively. To the CIA, a rogue former agent running around Europe with no oversight is a liability. It is highly probable that there is a burn notice on Ziva David. This means she is blacklisted. It means any U.S. asset who spots her is ordered to either detain her or neutralize her to protect state secrets. This changes the entire dynamic of the villain in the new show. What if the people hunting Tony and Ziva aren't terrorists? What if it's a cleanup crew sent by a faction of the U.S. intelligence community who wants to make sure Ziva stays entirely around Tony? It would be the ultimate betrayal. David, the country she fought for turning against her. It signaled she knows too much shift in how the NCIS franchise approaches production. Future finally. For years, we have to talk about the original series was a procedural powerhouse. If Ziva is arrested, filmed on standing sets, Tony is detained for aiding her, California, what happens to their daughter? Mimicking the Navy Yard in DC. This brings in child protective services for NCIS and the complexity Tony of international custody law. Paramount Plus Tully is technically a U.S. citizen clearly open to vault. If her parents are deemed criminals or reckless vigilantes endangering a minor event, the U.S. State Department can step in to take custody of Tully. It becomes immediately clear that the budget has Ziva surviving gunfights and explosions, the flagship show, only to lose their daughter to isn't just a plot point with a court order. It's an expensive logistical undertaking that brings a James Bond. It forces Tony and Ziva to be perfect. The legacy. They can't just win the fight. And most obvious they have to win without leaving a trace. Is the extensive they have to raise a child filming while being hunted by the very laws the original show, which often turns every interaction with authority, backlit locations, a border guard, to pretend they were in different countries. A passport control agent has spent months filming on the actual situation for their family unit and other European capitals. The price of freedom for international filming is Ziva David notoriously expensive. A Wonder Woman involving the local crews, logically, heritage site permits. She is a woman down major city system, analyzing the set pieces things it cannot control. We can see that the production romantic notion of them running off into the sunset is beautiful. High-speed chases, but the reality is likely a life of looking over their shoulders. Just difficult to film. Not just for bad guys. They require specialized flashing lights of the authorities. Dozens of stunt drivers. As we head into this new series, keep this legal battle in mind. These sequences are designed to show that layer of desperation to their actions. Are no longer just they aren't just fighting for their lives. They are international operatives in a world that feels. Do you think the show will address more dangerous plot holes than the bullpen we grew up with? Will Director Vance wave a magic portion of the budget has been allocated to the safe house? I think seeing them run from the good guys in the original NCIS, the bullpen was our home base. Let me know your verdict in the comments. Tony and Ziva are on the run, which means the production design team had to build multiple high-tech, stay safe out there temporary headquarters.